must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
That marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug.
Some think there won't be room for them in jail. We'll make room.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it and didn't inhale.
And one major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Radical Rant.
Welcome back, everyone. Almost 23 after the hour, and today I'm taking aim at KDVR Fox 31 in Denver, which has done an exclusive investigative report on poor people and their marijuana purchases. They lead with their lead is public tax money very likely paid for welfare recipients to smoke the equivalent of about 17 pounds of weed, or approximately 9,000 joints, in 2014. Oh dear, what a terrible, terrible thing. Of course, you got to love it also when they have to give you the joint equivalent, right? To make it sound so much worse. They point out that that's a small percentage of what Colorado ingested as a whole, but they don't tell you how small of a percentage now, do they? 17 pounds compared to the hundreds of thousands of pounds that may have been consumed in Colorado is a mere drop in the bucket. But they're all proud. Fox 31's all proud that they took time to analyze every ATM transaction in Colorado marijuana dispensaries. And what this is concerning is the use of what they call a Quest card in Colorado. It's got different names. It's Oregon Trail card out here in Oregon and so forth. But the Quest card is an EBT card, electronic benefit transfer card, that's administered under the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Cash Assistance Program by the federal government. This is the typical welfare check that people think of. There's no checks anymore, though, folks. It all gets electronically put onto this card, and then people can make cash withdrawals with it or pay for things with it. They're upset that people have gone into dispensaries and used the ATMs at dispensaries, and not just medical, but pot shops. Let's be clear that people have used their welfare benefits at pot shops to be able to purchase marijuana. They pointed out that Fox 31 Denver traced at least $32,275 in welfare cash that was withdrawn from ATMs inside secure marijuana retail facilities. But again, no context. How much welfare cash is there in total in the state that is distributed to people? Again, this would be a microscopic percentage that we're talking about. And where I get so angry about this is the condescension and the infantilization of the poor. This idea that if we're going to give you welfare money, then we've got to keep our thumb on you and dictate exactly what is appropriate and not appropriate for you to buy. They even mention while the majority of cardholders bought appropriate items such as diapers and fuel for their cars, others bought marijuana. And what I have to ask is, why is marijuana per se an inappropriate transaction for poor people? See, what's really frustrating here, they also pointed out that when they did their research on this, they also found people doing withdrawals at strip clubs, casinos, and liquor stores. Okay? And they're trying to put a marijuana purchase in that same class. Like it's just something frivolous and wasteful and even harmful if you talk about people buying liquor, right? But I would argue that a marijuana purchase is not necessarily those things. For some of these people that are purchasing it, it very may well be for medical purposes. I mean, if someone uses their EBT benefit card to buy a bottle of aspirin or a bottle of sleep aids or some antihistamines or over-the-counter drugs of any kind, are those appropriate welfare purchases? You don't have to have a doctor's recommendation for that. You just have to have your own belief that purchasing some aspirin would help your headache. But we're not going to give poor people that ability to choose something safer than aspirin to work with their headache. They may not be quote unquote medical marijuana patients, but they may be using marijuana as an over-the-counter remedy for some of their ills. Also, let's just assume that it is purely recreational, that they're using their welfare money to just get high a little. Okay, well, that would lead me to ask, what sort of entertainment is appropriate to be purchased by welfare? Can they rent a movie at Redbox? Can they use their EBT card to pay for going to the theater? How about shopping at the convenience store and buying junk food? Is that appropriate or inappropriate? You know, what we ought to do here is we ought to just make it so that these EBT cards are keyed to specific barcodes, and then we can approve exactly what we think the poor people ought to be able to spend their money on. Let's key the EBT card so that it can't possibly be used to buy potato chips, but it can be used to buy rice. How about that? And how about when it comes to buying diapers, that you can't buy the super cool, huggy, snuggy variety that are super expensive. You have to buy the bargain basement generic stuff. We wouldn't want people wasting their welfare money, would we? Let's just dictate every single damn nickel and dime that a poor person spends, because obviously the fact that they're in poverty means that they're immature, irresponsible, and require the nanny state to keep their thumb on them at all times. We dare not trust the poor people to spend a little bit of money to get a little bit of relief from most likely working their ass off. You know, people that get welfare doesn't necessarily mean that they're not hardworking people. A lot of people are the working poor, working in minimum wage jobs, just trying to make ends meet. And they want to relieve their depression, their anxiety, their stress a little with a little bit of marijuana. I say good on them, especially given all the other choices they might make, and considering that trying to stop them from using their EBT card at an ATM in a dispensary is worthless when they can just go next door to the convenience store, use the EBT card there, withdraw some money, and then walk right next door to the dispensary. Let's stop infantilizing the poor.